What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Juggalo972 here, and welcome to Ask Juggalo972 Part 10. So, I've got to say, I did not get, very many questions on sex, but I got plenty of relationship questions. But you know what? They coincide with one another, so I think I'm going to go ahead and just keep it as Ask Juggalo972 Part 10 for right now. But the subtext, really is relationships and relationship, advice and sexual questions too. So you know what? Let's delve deep into it and let's see how further we get. I'm really interested to see what y'all sent in. Okay, the first question comes from Tribe. He says, "My question is first move inspiration and what drives it. Also, how to overcome and help overcome personal insecurity. Mine and my significant's biggest issue is self-reflection spiral. We judge ourselves too much at times at points, and making the other feel responsible and not good enough to make it at least a little better. I can elaborate more if you want." Okay. To me that makes it sound like y'all are just trying too hard with one another. I think elaboration would have made a little bit, to make it a little bit more sense. But to be honest though, maybe a little bit of elaboration would have helped. But the thing that I get from this though is maybe it's because maybe if you feel that way, one of the reasons is probably because you feel like you may be trying too hard, but at the same time, though, the stress of any relationship, will take its toll on anybody. But most importantly, you should always remember that if you love each other enough, you're always going to be more than just good enough for each other, because love is much more important than anything else. So just remind yourself that you yourselves are more than capable of just being good enough for one another, because that's kind of a tricky question to really kind of, hit the head on. But most importantly, you should always remember that you yourselves are with each other for a reason, because you love each other. And if you don't love each other, maybe if y'all been together long enough, y'all should question just exactly where y'all are at. But it doesn't seem, based on that question, it doesn't seem like, that's the issue there. So I think, it's more along the lines of really, maybe you shouldn't try too hard with each other like that, though, because you'd be surprised just how simple things are in life and simple things in your relationship can be. It's only complicated if it requires a certain condition. So we'll just go with that. Fighter Kid Toy Collector asks, "Okay, well, I got a question for that topic. Say you like a girl, but she don't like you that way. What do you do?" Well, for one, punctuation would actually make that question just a little bit easier to read. But that's a whole other topic. What if she likes you, and what if you like her, and what if she don't like you that way? Okay, a lot of guys come across this issue a lot. I've liked people before that didn't like me that way, but don't take it personally though. I mean, there's a reason why she doesn't like you that way, and it could be for many reasons. One, that reason being, she probably just doesn't feel the same. Most likely, she doesn't feel the same way about you that way, and there's nothing wrong with that. Guys, do the same thing with girls too. But the problem is, most guys, just don't know how to express it. Women in general are much better, expressing, that kind of feeling towards, the opposite sex as well. So don't take it personally, though. I mean, I'm pretty sure, she may like you maybe a little bit later on down the line, but maybe she doesn't feel, compatible that way to you. But, you should never ever take that, personally, though, because, you like somebody based on, what you're comfortable with, though, and maybe that could be another thing. But always look at the silver lining to it, though. If she had the decency respect to tell you that, though, then you know what? That doesn't mean that she's not a bad person. Matter of fact, that means she respects you enough to tell you that, too. So, do yourself a favor, make sure that you're always around. Do yourself a favor. Make sure, like, if you like somebody, don't go straight for it, though, because, that could put a lot, a lot of pressure on a woman as well, too. And, women do the same thing to guys as well. But, take it slowly next time, though, just talk to her, get to know her a little bit. And, when you get to know somebody like that, though, then that's when they start getting comfortable. And just take it little by little. I mean, if she likes you, she likes you. If she flirts with you, she flirts with you. She's obviously showing some kind of interest as well. Because if she's showing interest, she's obviously, going to make every chance that she can to go out of her way to see you. And if she goes out of her way to see you, that means she likes you. But when it comes down to that, just don't, try to rush too much into it, though. and take your time with it. Be respectful to one another too, because women are about first impressions. First impressions mean a lot to a woman, and it also gives them a better idea to really gauge just who you are as a person as well, and if they're comfortable with you. My good buddy Craig Strachan says, okay, I got one. When you're in a relationship, how do you keep things interesting, whether it be sex or just in general? Hopefully I will be able to watch that live stream, assuming I'm not working. Definitely. Hopefully I'll be live streaming soon. But until then, peace and out of here. Okay. How do you make a relationship? How do you keep a relationship interesting, sex-wise or just in general? Okay. Now, me personally though, after, I've got a lot of dating experience, and the one thing, that I've always noticed with, a long-term relationship is keeping things fresh can be difficult, because sometimes couples, I don't want to say work themselves, but they get themselves caught up. What's the word I'm looking for? They get themselves caught up in a routine, and routines can be boring. I can openly admit that right now. Routines can be very boring. But one thing you also need to realize though is when you get yourself into routine, you should definitely start looking at things like why don't we do this very much? Why don't we do this very much? So think about it this way: try new things with your girlfriend, or try just new things. It doesn't have to be a different kind of just a routine though, but just try new things. That typical breakfast place you go to the place next door, go to the place down the street. Go see different movies. Get into different hobbies and interests with each other though, because a lot of times in a relationship, hobbies seem to intertwine with your relationship too, because whenever you discover you learn new things about yourselves, and you learn new things about each other. You learn about new likes. You learn, your relationship will begin to expand based on those kind of things as well. And when you expand on things like that, your relationship only vastly grows into something that's even more special. Now, sexually, that coincides with the term spontaneity. Now, what I mean by spontaneity, well, be spontaneous with each other. Being spontaneous means, just doing things, romantically, or just a little bit more erotically as well, just out of nowhere. Do, things like that, help keep a relationship, very fresh and very, not basic, but very fresh though, but very unique as well. Now, of course, I'm pretty sure you're going to ask, what about, in the bedroom? What about in the bedroom? Well, trying new things like that, though, it needs to be treated with two very specific elements, with care and respect. Not only that, here, make correction 3, care, respect, and communication. Because communication is very important when it comes to, trying new things out in the bedroom, too. Anytime, you want to try something new, whether it be with your woman or with your man, you always want to lay these things out as in, hey, because, we've been doing this a lot. Why don't we try doing this? Why don't we try a different kind of foreplay? Why don't we introduce toys into our relationship? Why don't we introduce toys into our sex life? Why don't we, play some music in the background? Why don't we try this position? Why don't we, try this kind of play? Why don't we try, a little role play, etc., etc. Little things like that, require great communication, great care, and respect towards one another, though, because when you start doing that, though, it really goes to show you just how much trust you have with each other. And when you have that trust, the two of you can do so much more with your sex life. And when you have a great sex life, you have an even better relationship, because you yourself really show just how comfortable you are being vulnerable with one another. And emotionally, that actually goes a little bit further than just, beyond physically in the bedroom, and how you bond as well. Because let's be real, when you have great sex, some of the best moments that you have are post-coital, and right after sex, when you're sitting down laying next to each other. The most honest moments in your life come from after that specific time after you have an orgasm. It's just like how they said something about Mary. The few minutes after a guy's blown his load are the most honest moments in his life, or the honest moments in his life, and that is a medical fact. And that's very true too. So to wrap it up, spontaneity, try new things, communication, be open-minded, but most importantly, treat it with care, but treat it with respect. That will make sure that your relationship becomes even stronger, and most importantly, you two will have the biggest bond, the best bond you can have at that point, and then some. Believe you me, I'm living proof. And the last question comes from Sierra the Chosen One. This one I saved for last for a very specific reason. I'm not in a relationship, so I'm gonna have a question about anything current. I'm not gonna have anything current. But my future question is, if interested in somebody but I have major trust issues, what's the best way to learn to trust people again? When the person you've previously loved has broken your heart and made you trust less. How do you learn to trust somebody after you've had your heart broken and you have trust issues? Okay. Now, the best way I can really approach, any kind of situation like that, everybody's different, for a specific reason. And trust is the number one thing that you need to have in a relationship. And when that's an issue, the first thing you need to be able to come to terms with is you need to be at peace with yourself. Most importantly, you got to learn how to love yourself first. Because when you don't love yourself, you can't love somebody else. You can't just sit there, you've got to sit there, take the time to yourself and tell yourself, okay, I've been hurt this way before. Why have I been hurt this way? And what do I not want, in the next relationship that I have? Or if anything, or just long term. Well, your heart is the strongest muscle in your body, but it's also the most fragile too. At the same time, you and your brain will always have a fight. You and your brain will always be at war with each other when it comes to trust issues. But the way I've always handled, having trust issues with somebody is knowing the content of that person's character. What do I mean by that? Is know that, guy number one over there is the guy that you dated. You know that he cheats on women. Stay away from him. Guy number two, you're really not sure about, what he's about, but he seems to have, interest in himself first before he's giving himself interest in somebody else. Keep him on your radar, but let him be for right now. And then you got guy number three over here who can keep themselves to their word. Not just to their word, though, but to themselves, and have respect for themselves and respect with everybody around them. Most importantly, keeps themselves surrounded by positive people. And when you want to try to find that trust in somebody, it really just depends on who you hang around with too. Because positive people, are the reason. You're the reason why people are attracted to others, because people are attracted to positivity. And when you attract positive people, it becomes really easy to really, garner that trust from somebody. Most importantly, the best relationships you will always have is when you create a best friend out of somebody. Your best friend has got to be the one that you love, and the one that you love has got to be your best friend, vice versa. However you want to put it. But to go on to the trust issue portions, you've got to be very transparent the moment you start getting the moment you really start, becoming very close to one another. Because when you start becoming close to one another, the one thing that you've got to be transparent with, just like how I mentioned in my previous question, is communication. Communication, will always, you've got to let them know, hey, I've been hurt this way. This person did this to me. This person cheated on me. This person hit me. This person did whatever. This person stole, It could be a multitude of things though, but the one thing you've also got, like I said, be very transparent about it. Communicate with them. Let them know why it hurt you. And if that person respects that, they're going to do everything they can to make sure that they don't hurt you. And granted, no man is perfect. No woman is perfect either. It doesn't matter. But that's what makes a relationship work though, because if you're not perfect, you work towards making your relationship, perfect for each other. Because perfection is subjection, and subjection is merely opinion. So when you look for somebody like that though, make sure you're surrounded by positive people. Make sure you're surrounded by the people that you can love, the one you can trust, and make sure the person that you want to love is also your best friend. They've got to treat you with respect, and you've got to treat them with respect up, because they've got to treat you with respect back though, because you've got to treat them too. Treat them with respect, you treat them with respect as well, and you'll get it back. Because when you treat people like that, it goes, what comes around goes around, and you don't want to be, on the backside of that. And believe you me, I've had trust issues myself, and there are reasons, why I stay single, for long periods of time though, because I know what it's like to be hurt. And I know, what it's like, to be, put in that kind of precarious situation where you just don't know what you want. Thankfully, you know, I'm with somebody right now, and you know, I have that trust with them, and even then, sometimes it doesn't feel like it's real. And when you find that somebody, it'll never feel real until you really start getting close with them. So yes, learning how to trust is the hardest thing to overcome. But once you overcome it, though, you know, the things that you can do in a relationship from there, what can I say? Great things can come. It's the end of the year, and I can tell you this right now. This Ask Juggalo972 has probably has been the most interesting, but I will say this though, it's been the most challenging because everybody out there, you know, has got some very different, you know, opinions and very different situations, but most importantly, you know, they handle things differently as well. And I wanted to challenge myself in order to do this Ask Juggalo972 because, quite frankly, you know, I'm always, you know, doing something, you know, for the fam and all that though, but there's a lot of fam out there, you know, who just, there's a lot of fam out there, you know, who've got their own problems. You know, relationship issues seem to be, you know, number one in a lot of people's lives like that. Hell, even for me, I've had, you know, relationship issues before. But all we need, you know, every now and then is somebody to talk to and somebody who we feel like we can trust. Granted, I am not a sex therapist. I am not a relationship counselor. I am not a marriage counselor. This is just purely an opinion. Hell, I wouldn't I wouldn't give my marriage advice to anybody who wasn't married. I wouldn't ask for marriage advice from anybody who wasn't married either. But sometimes, you know, you don't need, you know, a specialist. Sometimes you just need a down-to-earth opinion. But hey, my opinion is just my opinion. Maybe it'll help for you. I pray to God that it helps y'all out. So most importantly, and I really hope that this Ask Juggalo972, you know, can shed some light on what kind of different things and what kind of different people we all are too. But most importantly, thank you for everybody who sent in all a lot of your questions. But most importantly, thank you to everybody who sent in all your questions. A lot of those questions that got sent to me were a lot of carbon copies as well. So I kind of consolidated them, you know, with those 4 questions as well. I hope everybody has a safe New Year. I love every last one of y'all. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa. I think it's Ramadan. It's Ramadan, right? I believe. Or just in general, happy holidays. I love y'all. Peace, God bless, be good to each other, reach out for one another, and please bring in this new year with a positive 2019. Peace.